Welcome back to the channel, fight fans. We have some absolutely massive news coming out of the welterweight division today, and it centers around one of the most talked about names in British boxing right now, Conor Benn. If you have been following the trajectory of the Destroyer, you know that he is sitting in a very powerful position, but with great power comes a very difficult decision. We are looking at a classic crossroads moment in a fighter's career, where the choice isn't just about who to fight next, but about mapping out the legacy and the financial future of a potential superstar. The latest updates we are hearing suggest that Benn might be about to make a controversial and bold move, potentially sacrificing a guaranteed shot at one belt to chase another major opportunity that has just opened up. Let's dive right into the heart of this situation. Right now, Conor Benn is the WBC's leading contender at welterweight. That is a prestigious spot to be in. He earned that status following what was arguably the most important performance of his career back in November. We all remember the rematch with Chris Eubank Jr. There was so much bad blood, so much history, and frankly, so much pressure on Benn to perform. And he didn't just perform, he dominated. That unanimous decision victory wasn't just about revenge, it was a statement. Even though that fight took place at 160 pounds, a weight Benn had to move up to, it solidified his standing in the eyes of the WBC. However, and this is a crucial detail for everyone watching to keep in mind, Conor Benn has not actually competed at the 147-pound welterweight limit since way back in 2021. Despite that inactivity in the weight class, his recent exploits have positioned him right at the front of the line. Because of that ranking, Benn is technically next in line to face the winner of the upcoming showdown between Mario Barrios and Ryan Garcia. That fight is scheduled for February 21 at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and it is going to be a blockbuster event. On paper, sitting tight and waiting for the winner of Barrios versus Garcia seems like the logical move. You have the WBC strap on the line, and you have the massive exposure that comes with fighting a star like Ryan Garcia or a tough champion like Mario Barrios. But boxing is rarely that simple, is it? While Benn could sit on his hands and wait for his mandatory shot, there is a very strong current pulling him in a completely different direction. We are hearing significant chatter that the Destroyer might forego that WBC mandatory position entirely to pursue an alternative route to a world title. This brings us to the other major player in this drama, Rolando "Rolly" Romero. This is where things get really interesting for the fans who love the matchmaking politics of the sport. The 29-year-old Benn has a serious option to pivot away from the WBC route and instead challenge Romero for his world title. For those who need a quick refresher, Rolly Romero is currently holding a piece of the WBA pie. The 30-year-old captured the WBA secondary title back in May with a points victory over Ismael Barroso, though many people still debate that stoppage, and was subsequently upgraded from the regular champion to the full world welterweight champion status. So Benn has a choice. Door number one is the winner of Barrios and Garcia for the WBC. Door number two is Rolly Romero for the WBA. But here's the catch, and it is a big one. Nothing in boxing is ever free of complications. Rolly Romero has recently been ordered by the sanctioning body to defend his belt against his mandatory challenger, Shakram Giyasov. Giyasov is the WBA interim champion and has been waiting patiently in that mandatory slot for quite some time. The WBA has been strict about this, ordering the fight with no escape, as the promoters like to say. This is where Eddie Hearn comes into the picture. You know Eddie Hearn is always working the angles, always trying to find the best deal for his stable. Benn's promoter has gone on record acknowledging this hurdle. He knows that Romero has to fight Giyasov because the fight has been ordered and there is technically no escape. But he followed that up immediately by saying they would have to find a solution for that. That's promoter speak for we are going to try to buy our way out of the mandatory or get a special permit to allow a bigger, more lucrative fight to take precedence. Eddie isn't just talking hypothetically here. He's been very active behind the scenes. He revealed to IFL TV that he has already been in discussions with Luis de Cubas, who manages Rolly Romero. This isn't just a rumor. The lines of communication are open. They are actively trying to figure out how to make a Benn versus Romero fight happen, effectively allowing the Londoner to leapfrog Giyasov and get straight to the title shot. To give you an idea of how serious this is, Hearn mentioned that there's a major sit-down planned. Conor Benn is heading to New York next week. The plan is for Benn, his manager Keith Connolly, and the promotional team to all have dinner and hash this out. Hearn was quoted saying that this is a fight he and Dukubis had been discussing, and that he mentioned it to Connolly just recently. When the key players are flying across the Atlantic for a dinner meeting, you know the contracts are being drafted in their heads already. Now let's look at why Benn might choose Romero over the Garcia-Barrios winner. It comes down to timing and business. Hearn was very candid about the situation. He admitted that Rolly Romero has to fight Giyasov because the fight has been ordered and there is technically no escape. But he followed that up immediately by saying they would have to find a solution for that. That's promoter speak for we are going to try to buy our way out of the mandatory or get a special permit to allow a bigger, more lucrative fight to take precedence. For Conor, this is a tough decision. Obviously, a fight with Ryan Garcia is the biggest money fight available. If Garcia beats Barrios on February 21, a Benn versus Garcia fight would be a global event. Hearn acknowledged that, stating that for Conor, the Ryan Garcia fight is bigger than the Rolly Romero fight. However, there are rumors circulating that complicate things. There's talk that the winner of Barrios versus Garcia might not fight their mandatory next. There's whispers that the winner of that fight could instead look to unify or take a super fight against the winner of the Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson clash.
If that rumor holds true and the winner of Barrios Garcia goes off to fight the winner of Lopez Stevenson, Conor Benn could be left waiting on the sidelines for a very long time. He would be holding a mandatory ticket for a train that isn't arriving at the station anytime soon. This is the danger of the WBC route. You are at the mercy of the bigger stars making their moves. On the other hand, the Rolly Romero fight is right there, and it has its own unique appeal. Eddie Hearn pointed out that a fight against Romero, staged in the UK for a world championship, is still a massive event. It might not be Ryan Garcia money, but it is Stadium in London money. Hearn personally stated that he likes the Romero fight and believes it does great business in London. You can visualize the promotion now. Rolly Romero's trash talk, combined with Conor Benn's intensity, would sell out an arena in the UK instantly. Plus, it gives Benn the chance to win a legitimate world title at 147 pounds without the uncertainty of waiting for other tournaments to play out. We also have to factor in the movement in the super lightweight division. Teofimo Lopez is defending his WBO super lightweight strap against Shakur Stevenson at Madison Square Garden in New York City next week. This is relevant because, as we mentioned, the winner of that fight is being eyed as a potential opponent for the Barrios Garcia winner. This interconnected web of fights creates a bottleneck at the top of the division. If an immediate world title fight at 147 pounds is available for the winner of Lopez versus Stevenson, it pushes Benn further down the priority list for the WBC belt holder. So, when you look at the landscape, Eddie Hearn's strategy starts to make a lot of sense. Why wait for Ryan Garcia, who might go chase Teofimo Lopez or Shakur Stevenson, when you can pay a step-aside fee to Giyasov and fight Rolly Romero for a belt immediately? It secures Benn a title, keeps him active, and makes him a champion. Once he has the WBA belt, he has much more leverage to negotiate a unification fight with Garcia or anyone else down the line. The dinner in New York is going to be pivotal. We are talking about high-stakes negotiations. We know Keith Connolly, Benn's manager, is a shark in these situations. If they can convince Louis Dukubis that the money for a Benn fight in London is significantly more than what Romero would make fighting Giyasov, which is almost certainly true, then business logic usually prevails. The only sticking point is the WBC itself and whether they will sanction the bypass. But as we have seen time and time again in boxing, when the money is right, exceptions are often made. It's a fascinating time for Conor Benn. After the turmoil of the last few years, the failed drug tests, the clearing of his name, and the comeback at 160 pounds, he's suddenly the man with the options. He can stay loyal to the WBC ranking he just earned, or he can act as a mercenary and go hunt down Rolly Romero's WBA belt. For the fans, either option delivers excitement. A fight with Ryan Garcia is a pay-per-view blockbuster. A fight with Rolly Romero is a chaotic, entertaining build-up with a violent conclusion. But the Romero fight seems more makeable in the immediate future, provided they can solve the Gyasov problem. Eddie Hearn seems confident, or at least hopeful, that a solution exists. As we get closer to February 21st, keep your eyes on the news coming out of New York. That dinner meeting could decide the future of the welterweight division. If Benn steps aside from the WBC mandatory, it shakes up the whole bracket. It frees up the winner of Barrios Garcia to pursue those super fights with Lopez or Stevenson, while setting up a massive UK homecoming for Benn against Romero. It's a game of chess, and right now, Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn are looking at the board, trying to decide whether to move the pawn or the knight. We'll stay on top of this story as it develops, especially regarding the outcome of that meeting with Louis DeCubas. But for now, it looks like the Destroyer is hunting for gold, and he doesn't care whose waist it is around. He just wants the quickest path to securing it. Make sure you're subscribed, because as soon as that decision is made, we'll be breaking it down right here.